will help you to identify financial opportunities, develop a professional business plan, structure financial statements, and solve business challenges with the help of our network of business partners. Are you ready to grow your SME with JMMB? Speak to one of our JMMB SME representatives to find out how we can partner with you. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at JMMB Group, or visit our website at jm.jmmb.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our monthly workshop, the SME Resource Center. We have these workshops every 2 weeks. So if this is your first time visiting with us, please look out for future workshops. I am Tanis Coates. I'm one of JMMB's SME Resource Center, and I am also going to be your host for tonight. So we must admit that in Jamaica, our electricity bill is oftentimes one of the highest expenses SMEs have. And so tonight we want to provide you with information to help you reduce your electricity bill. However, before we start, my team member, Mr. Vincent Hall, who is our Senior SME Resource Center Officer, will start us off with a word of prayer. Vincent, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Tanis. Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. Almighty Father, we give you thanks and praise for taking us through today. Lord, we realize that it is through your love and mercy why we are able to attend tonight's session. So we are very grateful and thankful and give you all the praise and glory. Lord, we pray that tonight's workshop will be beneficial and useful to all the participants, especially our business owners. This we pray in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Thank you so much, Vincent. In addition to starting us off with a word of prayer, we like to start our workshops by sharing a section of a document that we hold very dear to our hearts here at JMMB. It's our vision of love, and it speaks about JMMB's core values. So I am going to share with you a very short section. We hope that it will give you the same information that it provides to us here at JMMB. The section that I'm reading says, JMMB is committed to life in all its abundance. Accordingly, team players recognize the link between the organization and the wider society and the interrelatedness of all life. In keeping with this, JMMB is committed to being actively concerned with the conservation, preservation, and sustenance of the natural environment in order to ensure sustainable development. So that's a section of the Vision of Love. If you would like to read the entire document, it is on our website. You can feel free to visit our website at www.jmmb.com and read the entire document. We do hope that you'll get some inspiration from it as well. I would also like to just steal a few more of your time, 1 minute of your time, to share with you the JMMB SME Resource Center. The workshop tonight, it is being put on by JMMB's SME Resource Center. What we do here is we work with our business owners. We help them to grow their business. We want to see them transition through the different stages of their business life cycle. And so for us, what we do is we provide solutions and tools to help you to grow your business. So our first point of contact with you, we ensure that we do what we call our needs discovery or needs assessment. And that is to ensure that we really understand your business, understand the challenges that you're having, know what your future goals are. And from there, we will point you in the right direction, whether that means providing you with finance, helping you to create investment portfolios, making sure that you have the right insurance solution, or if it means that we're going to have you work with some of our partners, and some of our partners are persons who can provide you with assistance in areas such as accounting, marketing, HR solutions, We also have templates that you can use in your business to ensure that you are documenting your processes properly. So that is a small section of what we do at JMMB. We SME Resource Center, we also recognize the importance of networking. And so we have our clients have access to our SME Resource Center WhatsApp group where they can connect with our business clients. And this is an opportunity to network and be able to either have additional partners or access to new clients. So tonight we're going to be speaking about the solar energy. Sorry, we're going to be speaking about solar systems and how this can impact your electricity bill, and of course how JMMB Energy Renewable Loan can assist you making sure that you're able to afford a solar system and therefore saving in your business. So tonight we have with us, we're going to be having two presenters. So we're going to be having from Radiant Energy, we're going to be having Mr. Sean Hinds, and he has been in the business for a number of years. He is he has a degree in law and economics, and he also is currently an energy manager in training, and in addition to that, he is currently completing his accreditation in energy risk as an energy risk professional. I'm so sorry, my tongue is getting tired. We also have with us Mr. Neil Wright, and Neil is from JMMB. He's one of our SME relationship officers, and if you are interested in utilizing our energy loan, Neil is one of the officers who will be working with you. He has been in the business for quite a number of years. He has worked specifically with SMEs, and he is also going to be making a short presentation about our energy loan. So with that being said, I'm going to hand you over first to Mr. Hinds, who's going to take us through the options that you can get for your solar system and how this can impact your electricity bill. And of course, the objective is to make sure that you're able to save on your expenses. Mr. Hinds, you can go ahead.
Hi, good night, everyone. Happy to be here. Thank you to JMMB for the invitation. I've been working with JMMB on this renewable energy loan for, I think it'll be about a full year now. We ran a pilot last year, and this is the first full year that it's been launched. Quite a number of companies, other than ourselves, also benefit from it. They're able to partner with JMMB to provide financing to customers who are interested in going solar, which is why we're here. So we're here to talk about how we can reduce the high electric bills that primarily commercial customers, so everyone in Jamaica feels it, but it's primarily commercial customers that we're going to be here focusing on today, since it's an SME workshop. I am also a small business owner like yourself, so I know that we all sell the dream and live the nightmare. And with that in mind, I think it's always great to figure out ways that we can contain costs. And energy is one of the easiest costs that you can possibly contain today. So we're going to go through how. So I'm going to take over the share screen function now. Tanisha. All right. So we're going to be doing a presentation tonight, and we're going to be talking about sorry, one second. All right, let's see if that. Let me stop the share for 1 second. right. Okay. All right. Sorry about that technical difficulties. All right. So why are we here? We are here because utilities fail to address customer needs. This is specifically true in Jamaica, where we have very, very expensive electricity. Electricity costs in Jamaica have actually increased by about a little over 3% every year for the last 15 years. That's 3% in US dollars, not in Jamaican dollars. It's about double that in Jamaican dollars. So it's just over just around 7%. That it's increased, and the result is that every 10 years, in the last 10 years, we've actually doubled the cost of electricity that we are paying in Jamaica. Our electricity is also fairly unreliable. The number of outages that we experience actually increases every year, and it's natural, it's polluting. We're heavily fossil fuel dependent. Most of this information actually JPS shares with us every single year when they do a rate application. Every year they apply to get a higher rate increase. Part of that is that they have to share this information with the OUR. So just the total number of outages, so SAIDI, SAFE, and KD, those are just specific acronyms that deal with the number of interruptions that JPS sees on an annual basis, and they must report that to the regulator, which they do. So what we've seen is that over the last 15 years, as I've said, the cost of electricity has climbed in Jamaica. It's ballooned, both in terms of US dollars and in terms of Jamaican dollars. And at the same point in time, what we've seen is that the price of solar panels, solar systems, batteries, just all the components for creating your own electricity have actually declined over time. And as the two have kind of crossed, it's just created this massive opportunity for allowing persons to produce their own electricity affordably, reliably, and sustainably for the first time. So that's what we're looking at now. Everybody now is faced with the choice. They can either choose to pay more for less, or they can choose to pay less and get more. And that's kind of what we're looking at. And so how this works now is that, whether you own or you rent a premises, either way, you kind of qualified to go solar based on, your roof and your energy usage. You can get an energy assessment done. Once an energy assessment is done, you'll be shown what your options look like. You then get a solar home or business with little to no upfront cost. The result is that more money stays in your pocket every month. You get peace of mind from those savings. You can direct those savings to much more beneficial opportunities. And then you get a guarantee that we have two, one for customers and one with the bank to ensure that you have the best system that operates to your requirements. So, let's move this. The thing about the most important thing that I would actually want just about everyone to keep in mind is solar is not alternate energy. It's not alternative power. Solar is mainstream. Solar is done. The better question, if you don't have solar, is why you don't have solar. Just about every single company in Jamaica that has been investing in solar over the years. It's actually possible to fill this screen with so many logos that you wouldn't be able to make anything out, or that would kind of defeat purpose. So it's just to point out that this is something that everyone does. It's something that more and more persons are going into. And that's true whether or not it is the smallest business that's just opened or the largest business that's public on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So just a little bit about who we are. Radiant Energy we've been around for 8 years. We have completed 135 projects. That now equates to just a little bit under 2 megawatts, because we've actually added an additional 72 customers this year. Our strength is not just solar by itself, but solar and storage and energy management systems. We have quite a sizable number of storage systems, both residential and commercial, in operation. And so we track our savings to date in a system we have that allows us to see all customer savings, and we're able to see daily what that number increases to. So far, it's more than 1.6 megawatt hours worth of savings. As I said, we manage a number of systems. We manage all of the products that we work with. We have divided across the various SME, Tesla, Victron, the various brands that we represent. We have over 56 Tesla sites now, almost 40 Victron sites now, lots of SMA sites. So these are just what we do, which is to manage the process so that we can actually see notifications, see every single day in real time how the system is performing, so that we can ensure that it's performing the way it's supposed to be performing before a customer even recognizes if something is wrong. So our perspective is that we should be able to tell you that something is wrong before you even realize that something has gone wrong. This is just images of some of the work that we've done, including Tropical Battery, Kingston Industrial Agencies, Jamaica Fiberglass. We've gone with the commercial projects here simply because, as I said, this is an SME workshop. So the right question to ask yourself, let's say that you've decided to go solar. The question to ask yourself is, how do I know solar is right for me? What is it that will allow me to determine whether or not I'm going to see the savings that I want to see, how many savings they're going to be, what that's going to look like, etc. So the most important thing to understand about the market is that JPS divides all the customers up into different price segments. You have rate 10 residential, which is the largest price segment, over 600,000 customers. Rate 20, which is small commercial, which is where the vast majority of SMEs fall in. That is the second largest in terms of numbers. Sorry. Then you have a street lighting, which is just rate 60, which is just government pays that for all of the street lights that are operational across Jamaica. And then thereafter that we have 3 tariffs, which are rate 40, rate 50, and rate 70. And those are supposed to be large commercial, industrial tariffs. The primary difference between rate 40 and 50 is just who owns the transformer. So each of those tariffs, there's a transformer usually on the premises or very close to the premises. If you're on rate 40, JPS owns a transformer. If you're on rate 50, the customer themselves owns a transformer. Rate 70 is the rarest number of clients. As you can see, it's only 24 customers. Those are very large industrials, which would include Carib Cement, Separate, those kind of businesses. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is that because JPS segments these customers based on usage, they also provide different pricing arrangements to these customers. So the highest rate paid is rate 10, residential customers pay the most. Although there's a caveat to that, rate 10 is actually split into 2 different tariffs, energy first and energy next. And then thereafter, rate 20 then pays the next highest, and then rate 40, rate 50, and so on. It's important that you have an idea as to what the various components are that comprise your rate class, because that will actually give you a very good idea as to what kind of savings you're going to be looking at and what type of payback period you're going to be expecting if you invest in solar. Now, while the price segmentation strategy that JPS has differentiates customers based on the amount of energy price that they're being paid, that they're paying for this energy, rate 10 and rate 20 being the highest. One thing to keep in mind is that price segmentation is just JPS's pricing strategy. Far more important for, I think, everyone on the grid to keep in mind is the overall price of the grid. There are only so many persons on it. The amount of energy that is being consumed through the grid is fairly fixed. It's an open loop system, and you should be able to see customers come in and go out. You'd expect to see growth, but there actually hasn't been any. In the last 15 years, the total growth in terms of usage consumption on the grid has been 1%, just over 1% in the last 15 years. There are a number of reasons for that. Keep in mind that there are persons who do go solar and they use less power, but then also just about everybody in Jamaica has switched from incandescents and CFLs to LEDs. We've moved to inverter air conditioners and VRFs. So we've actually been reducing our consumption as a nation overall, and so that has also played a role in this situation. But why it's important to keep in mind is that although the system should be open, an open system, it kind of functions like a closed system in that the more people who decide to go solar kind of creates a smaller pool for those persons who stay with JPS, and they end up having to pay a higher rate as a result. And the reason for that is, as I said, the system has its overall cost. The grid has a cost. You can't get past that cost. And so even if you were on a rate 40 class and it looked like your cost was fairly low, you'd have to keep in mind that as more persons jump off, you're going to see your cost go up because the system price is the system price. And that's what this little loop is here. It's just demonstrating that the cost for JPS is set, no matter how they segment the pricing. Sorry, 1 second. I think I opened the wrong. 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. I think I opened the wrong version of this presentation. All right. Just full screen mode and resume share. Okay. Is this sharing again? Yes, it is. All right. So what should you expect from your installation? One of the things that is just really important to keep in mind is that anyone who's here wants to know, well, what can I actually save? And what you can save is dependent on what you consume. It's also dependent on how much space you have. It's dependent on the type of roof, the orientation. It's dependent on the amount of shading. It is dependent on a variety of factors that impact significantly what you are able to save from solar. Just about any single person who's going to go in and give a solar assessment is going to take these factors into account. But generally speaking, what you should expect is you should expect to need approximately 1 kilowatt of solar for every 100 kilowatt hours of consumption. I think that's a fairly good rule of thumb. It's not absolute. And especially in an SME setting, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. One is these types of businesses, these customers, we all operate primarily in the daytime. That's the vast majority of SMEs. However, if you're a pharmacy, if you're a gas station, you're likely to go later than 8 to 4, 8 to 5, 9 to 6 kind of situation. You're likely to be to 11 o'clock, maybe 24 hours. The also thing to keep in mind that's really important is how many days for the week you're going to be operating. So someone who operates a shop 5 days a week, even if you're using 1,000 kilowatt hours, you're not using 1,000 kilowatt hours over the 30-day month period. You're using it over 22 or 24 days per month. Whereas someone who's operating Monday to Saturday, you're going to be using over 26 days. And then as of course, someone who's running 24/7 is going to be using all 30 days. And then one of the reasons why this is important is that it tells you two very important things for sizing a system. One, kind of gives you an idea as to where and what that peak consumption needs to be. And that of course changes. So if you're only doing 5 days a week, and it means that your peak consumption during those 5 days is actually higher, whereas for someone who's operating 7 days a week, the peak consumption is likely to be lower. Now, this is not always the case. And one of the things that we find to be very, very useful when we're checking, assessing SMEs is we have a bunch of items called data loggers that we like to place on the meter at the main panel, and it gives us the ability to see what as JPS would see, which allows us to be very accurate. Let's see.
Mr. Hinds,
Hello, is this the meeting?
1 second, please. Margaret has her hand up. Margaret, you have.
Stop meeting.
Margaret, do you have a question, or would you want to put it in the chat? You can go ahead. Mr. Hinds.
Sure. But generally speaking, just so you have an idea, someone using 1,000 kilowatt hours a month is going to be spending around $65,000 on a rate 20. That person would need a solar system that would be somewhere between 12 and 15 kilowatts. This is going to take care of 80 to 85% of their consumption, which is going to take place mainly in the day. The cost for that system is going to be somewhere between $2.5 to $3.5 million. And the expected savings from that system is likely to be somewhere just around $700,000 a year. That's conservatively speaking. What I've done is I've kept the range accurate, but I've only used the annual energy savings at the lower end. So that would be if you were operating 7 days a week. Sorry, if you're operating 5 days a week. If you were operating 7 days a week, your savings would actually be greater. There will be you would be less excess surplus power that would be available to be sold back to the grid. You'd be utilizing it all. Whereas someone who's operating 5 days a week is going to find that all weekend, Saturday and Sunday, they're just sending that power directly to JPS, which they can sell back on the net billing agreement. The value is going to be fairly low, but yeah, I mean, it's better than zero. In any case, you're still looking at payback, less than 4 years, realistically. Yeah. And that would be if you were paying cash, not taking a loan from the lovely folks at JMMB, where I think I'll let Neil speak to that later. So what should you expect when you're installing a solar system? You're going to get racking, which is this picture on the left, which is the rails. It's the clamps that hold panels to the roof and to kind of each other. This is one of the most important aspects for solar systems because we live in a hurricane prone area. And we found over time, lots of research looking at those systems that have failed in hurricanes have always found that all the failures actually come back to the clamps that hold the panels in place. Those are the things that are likely to go first. So it's one of the most important things for customers to focus on, the racking. Solar modules, which most people call panels. Ironically, in the industry, solar panels are hot water heaters, they're hot water panels, and solar modules are electric. But everybody just calls them panels. So do we. They convert sunlight into electricity. They're kind of like the beating heart of a system. The most important thing to keep in mind with panels is you want to know the efficiency. And by that, I don't mean that you want to know whether it converts 27% or 26%. That's the kind of thing that manufacturers game the number. The only thing that you really want to know is for your given square feet, how many watts do you get per square foot? Or you can use square meter if you prefer metric. But that's actually the most important question that you can ask. And then once you have that in mind, you want to know that you've gone with a good manufacturer There's a list that Bloomberg New Energy Finance publishes, which is called Tier 1. Quite a number of panel manufacturers make that list. I find that if you go with anybody in the top 10, you're probably going to be all right. But regularly, there's research that's being done on the systems that have been installed over time. And they've generally found that out of the 27 systems that they're looking at, only 7 of them have actually had any problems and don't look like they'll make the efficiency claims. And this efficiency is the amount of power that you will receive in year 25. So in year 1, you're going to get just about almost 100%, 99, 97%, depending on the type of panel. But the panels degrade over time. The output falls. It can be as much as 7.7%. For some brands, it's as low as 0.2 for others. And so what you're generally looking for is that you want to see something at least higher than 85%. So, 85 to 88%. That's kind of like the margin. There are premium panels that will do 90%, 92, 94% in year 25. But I generally don't find that the cost makes up for it. But it's something to keep in mind. The other thing that you want to look at is your inverter. Inverter is the brain of the system. This is where the power from the panels is converted into the power that your building can actually use. There are various different types of inverters. Usually for commercial purposes, most persons have been looking at grid tie. That's what's been very common. However, that's kind of shifted. Just about everyone now is looking at hybrid inverters, which can be placed in
Mr. Hinds, 1 second, quick question. So I would like to know what type of solar panel cell is used.
Sorry, what type of solar panels? What?
Solar panel cell type is used.
So the most common type is what they call P-type panels. So they used to have panels back in the day that were split between mono panels and poly panels. Poly and mono were just 2 different ways of slicing the silicon cells. Mono was a single block and poly was a bunch of different slices put together. But the mono panels kind of took over and became the industry standard over time. Initially, it was poly because it was cheaper. They also performed really well in high temperatures. But mono was able to create a situation what they call passive PERC. It's passive emitted rare connectors, something like that. And they were able to essentially get past the temperature differential. They were also able to reduce costs, and so they kind of won out. And just about every panel now is P-type mono. But the industry is also in the middle of a new shift to what is called an N-type cell, what they call TOPCon technology. And essentially, the reason why they're making that shift goes back to the degradation rate that I was speaking about. So the 2 types of degradation are passive irradiance degradation and light irradiance degradation, LID and PID. And while PID has been primarily solved by just about every manufacturer, LID was still a bit of a problem for just about every panel. But with N-type cells, that's not the case anymore. And so effectively, every manufacturer is making the change over to N-type. It's going to be a little slow to happen because N-type cells are still about 10% more than the cost of a P-type cell. So P-type is still generally, P-type monoPERC is the most common panel cell that you find. Yeah. Okay. So as I said, from an inverter perspective now, hybrid inverters have kind of taken over. And by hybrid basically means 2 different things. It means an on-grid, off-grid inverter, which basically just means that the inverter can function without the grid and it can function with the grid. Now, it does usually require, although not always, a battery in order to do that. But a couple of these hybrid inverters don't actually need a battery in order to be able to do that. So that's one way that we describe hybrid. The other way that we describe hybrid is an all-in-one box. And that generally means that the charge controller, which is what provides power to the battery, and the solar MPPT, which is what takes power from the panels, all come in one specific box. And that's kind of become the most common type of inverter. It's very common in residential, and it has now become common in commercial. So for large commercial, it's fairly common, and for small residential, it's fairly common. And now it's starting to filter its way up into small commercial and large commercial, medium to large commercial. Within the next, I think by 2024, that will actually probably be the most common inverter type, especially as the cost has come down. Inverters used to come in two separate forms, which were called transformer and transformerless. Transformer inverters had a massive benefit over transformerless, which is the transformer can kind of accommodate very large surges, power surges. However, one, transformers are very expensive, so it increased the cost of the inverters, and two, transformers are actually the thing most likely to fail in an inverter. So it lost out to transformerless topography, which is kind of what everybody uses today. Yeah. And then the final thing, of course, is batteries. And the most common battery type today is lithium ion. It comes with two types. It comes in what's called NMC, which is nickel, manganese, cobalt, and what's called LiFePO4, which is lithium ferrophosphate. Those are the two most popular lithium ion brands, and lithium has won out right currently because it lasts longer than lead acid. It gives you a greater power density, and it gives you greater cycle life. So it's just the go-to. And as the cost of lithium ion batteries has fallen significantly over the last 10 years, it just makes more sense than any other option. And so those are the components that comprise primary systems. There is another set of components that we call balance of system, which includes the DC wires, the AC wires, breakers, lightning arresters, surge protectors, etc. But they're called balance of system because they kind of tie together the primary components, which the primary components are what's on the screen. Let's see. I see Tracy.
One second, Mr. Hinds, we have another question. So Tracy wants to know if you need to take down the solar system if there's a hurricane.
So generally, no. Just about everyone in Jamaica will engineer to 157 mile per hour winds at 3-second gusts. That's the starter category 5. So just about everyone in Jamaica will engineer to that. A couple things to keep in mind. So most of the rail, not all, but most reputable rail manufacturers will wind test their products, and they will generally wind test them from 120 mile per hour up to 185. It never used to be 185, but after the hurricanes that flew through the Bahamas, and kind of left the place ruined, did so at 180 mile per hour winds, it became necessary to test in those zones. And what they do when they test in those zones is they do it at specific clearances between the anchor points that hold the rail in place. And they generally do that in the US for 36 to 48 inches. Some manufacturers will allow clearances that are larger, but generally speaking, you will find that requires thicker aluminum. And so usually you'll find that 36 to 48 is kind of the level. Now in Jamaica, we generally don't use that wider clearance. Almost no one does. Maybe on a slab roof, you will see 30, 34, 35, 36. I think I've seen some persons do 40 on a slab roof, but it's not common. And you'll never see it on a hip roof in Jamaica or any type of metal roof of any kind. Those are generally within a 24 to 32 inches apart for the attachments. And so if you can imagine that if it's safe at 157 mile per hour winds at 48 inch clearance, then it's even more safe at a smaller clearance between attachments. And so no, generally speaking, the biggest concern you'll have from a hurricane perspective when it comes to solar is debris flying across and breaking panels. That's actually a much bigger issue than panels blowing away. And then panels also have a tendency to kind of protect the roof because especially in steel buildings that have steel roofs or wooden purlins, you will generally find that the panels the racking is placed perpendicular to the direction that those purlins are running, which is cross bracing and kind of providing additional protection for the roof. So no, generally you don't need to remove the system. I mean, it would of course depend on where you are. I mean, if you're right out on the seafront, maybe, but generally no. And then one thing to keep in mind, this may not be great to say, but the reality is that since panel efficiency increases every year and panel cost kind of decreases somewhat, you're probably better off with insurance. You'll be able to replace, have the system replaced and have a more efficient and powerful system for the same money. So I'd probably say go with insurance and pulling it down. Sorry, are there any other questions for? No? Okay. All right. So, sorry, no? Okay, so those are the components of a system. The important thing about a source, however, is that it is more than the sum of its parts. Sometimes it's less than the sum of the parts based on the engineering that's been done. The key thing that you want to keep in mind is whether the system performs. So the general metrics for systems are the number of panels by the watt of each panel, which is what we call the DC nameplate. The inverter's AC nameplate is effectively how much AC power that inverter will provide to your building. Let's see a question. Let's go straight to it. Oh, that's JMMB. Okay. So why there's a huge difference between this is that there are we used to have a rule where inverters panels could only be 20% more than the rating on the inverter, but that's gone way through the roof now I've seen inverters that can do 200% increase. So you're talking about, let's say you have a 5 kilowatt inverter, you can actually put 10 kilowatts of panels on it. Now, when you do that, there's a little section over here on this chart that says clipping. When you do that, you're going to get what's called clipping, which is that the system can't put out more than 5 kilowatts, but it's going to be driving at like 100% all the time. Now, that's actually something that is desirable as long as the inverter can handle it, because that kind of makes the system function a little bit more like a generator and less like how you generally think of solar, which is solar production follows a bell curve. It starts off very, very low in the morning. It gets to its highest point between 12 and 2, and then it drops off lower in the evening. But generally what you find when you're able to oversize the panels versus the inverter, you're able to find that you're able to provide a lot more power from get-go, and it stays up and provides the max it can provide all the way through, and it doesn't drop off till maybe like 4 o'clock. So what you get is something that looks a lot more like, not quite like a square, but like a rounded edge square, I suppose. And that's important if it can be accomplished cost effectively. Yes. So yes, I see that this is from Alwyn. Sorry, Alwyn, I can't see the whole of your last name. So the question is, with the setup, do you install sensors to create dashboards with visualizations for customers? Yes, but to be fair, I don't actually create the dashboards. Just about every single manufacturer I work with or I represent does. They generally have apps, both web and mobile, that allow you to see real time. And then not just in real time, but also be able to see on a running basis historical data, and you can actually download that data. What I find to be very, very useful for when we do it is we essentially sync the period of time that we're looking at to match whatever the JPS billing period is for the customer, and that allows us to ensure that what we are seeing in app and what they're seeing in their JPS app are actually not divergent. I've actually found that works really, really well, and I've never seen a deviation of more than maybe 1%. The meters are slightly different in the way that they read energy, and sometimes JPS will read more and sometimes they'll read less than what these apps are seeing. But just about any manufacturer worth their salt provides dashboards and visualizations for customers, and they're able to see it. Now, we actually have created our own app that we're going to be launching in January. So all of our customers will also be able to see it in our app, not just in the manufacturer app, but we're going to be pulling data from the manufacturer app. It's just helpful for us to have created that because it allows us to see all our systems in one place, irrespective of which manufacturer we've sold to which client. Yeah. All right. So annual production. This is the expected number of kilowatt hours that's going to be produced for the year. Just about every single solar installer, developer, etc., is going to provide you your annual production. They're going to be able to provide you simulations that will show you what they expect the month to month to be, but realistically, because of the variability of solar, we focus on annual. We focus on what is produced over the 4,760 hours that solar is actually going to provide production for. And then we just have to ensure that we have set that production up in such a way that it's actually going to meet your requirements for the full 8,760 hours that you're using power. The performance ratio is essentially a deviation from theoretical max production. And what that means is there are a number of I don't want to call them geographic, but there are a number of geospatial companies that provide data. And the data that they provide says that Jamaica, for instance, various different parts will produce a specific number of kilowatt hours per meter squared. And effectively all of the simulations that everyone uses takes those numbers and then it changes them from the theoretical maximum, which for Jamaica is just around 1,879 kilowatt hours per meter squared, into what you're actually going to see at the inverter, which is generally somewhere in the range of 1,200 to 1,500, depending on where you are. I'm fairly conservative when I do these simulations for customers. So I generally do mine in a 12 to 1,300 kilowatt hour band per meter squared. Now it's possible that and it generally does happen that the systems overproduce as a result, but I prefer to under promise and over deliver all the way around. And in kilowatt hour per kilowatt power basically just takes the total annual production and divides it by the DC nameplate, and it effectively tells you how many kilowatt hours you're producing for a year per kilowatt that you've installed. And that does differ location to location, as you can imagine. What you get in Portland and what you get in Spanish Town look nothing alike. Yeah, so the primary sources of loss in a system are temperature, which is actually one of the hardest ones to get around. If you're doing your job right, it's probably going to be the biggest source of loss. Mismatch speaks to the fact that panels are never, even panels that have the same nameplate at the back, there's just a problem with what we call binning. They're never exactly perfect, and so there's always some level of mismatch. And then there are wiring losses based on the distance that the wires are going to be run. You just have to size your wires properly to make sure that you don't get voltage or amperage losses. As I said, clipping is something that is going to happen, and you should expect to happen a little bit more if you oversize the inverters. And then the number of inverters that are there together can also produce losses. If you don't have one inverter, but you have like 4 different types, you can generally get losses across the inverters. And then you have total losses, which is the losses coming out of the AC system, and that's just the conversion losses, DC to AC. That should be low. For everybody else, shading losses should be minimal because we need sunshine, so we're not supposed to be putting them in the shade. However, one of the other things to keep in mind from a shading perspective is panels shading each other, so they should be spaced properly. And reflection, not a huge problem for people that use bifacial panels. It usually be a lot less, but it's something that we do see. And then there's soiling losses, and soiling losses are expected losses over the course of a year. Usually we keep it about 2% because we generally tend to put panels, and this is just true for everyone in the industry. They try to do at least 5 degrees, which is what we call self-cleaning. Self-cleaning is not perfect, mind you, because it leaves streaks. But I mean, as long as you do that, your losses really should stay below 2%. And then irradiance losses, which are calculated as just the losses that you'd expect from sunshine. And I'm going to stop there to take a look at these questions.
Yes, so we have a question from David. David would like you to give a little bit more information about the temperature and losses that it can cause.
Yeah, so sure. The thing about solar, which is a little hilarious, is that even though sunshine creates the energy, solar cells don't particularly like heat. I'm not sure what this is. Sorry, 1 second.
Maybe you can stop sharing and share again, see if it goes away.
I've stopped sharing. I'm trying to see what's the, yeah, but I'll continue in the meantime. So yeah, it's not actually on my screen, so that's kind of why I'm confused. Yeah, so so one of the ironic things is that solar panels don't like heat. So even though they need sunshine in order to produce power, the hotter it gets, the worse they perform. So you will generally find that if you have a system that is, let's say, sorry.
Listen to it.
So if you have a system that is elevated, let's say that you have it in like it's on a carport structure, or it's in such a way that a lot of air is able to pass underneath it and cool everything down, you will generally find that those panels will outperform because they're getting the warm sunshine that they want, but their temperature is being kept within the region that the panels want. The panels actually they do what we call derating. The hotter it gets, the less power they're actually able to put out, the further from optimal power output they get. That's why temperature is such a huge deal. Yeah, go figure. I know it's using things. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Yeah, so it uses sun. I'm getting a lot of. I think I'm hearing myself through someone else's speakers.
Yes, somebody was unmuted, but I have muted them. I'm just gonna ask you to keep your microphones muted. If you have a question, you can either let us know in the chat window, or you can raise your hand and we'll let you know when it's your time to go ahead and ask.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to try and run through as quickly as possible so that we can get to the loan options. So one thing to keep in mind is that there is more to solar than just installation. I think we've kind of covered this. A lot of solar companies generally sell Go Solar, which is just the process of getting your solar system installed, but all customers have to live with it. It does go back to the question about optimization, dashboards, being able to see what's happening, monitoring of the system, the ability to get service calls, whatever, etc. Those are the things that matter after day one. It's just something for all customers to keep in mind because it's going to be very, very important, given that this is meant to last 20 years. So just a quick recap. What do you get with JMMB? Let me just do a quick recap before you get into the loan. You can get a system cost, system paid for, installed, and funded like a car home loan. That's what you've got with JMMB now. You get quality material and equipment. You get outage proof from backup. I would really suggest that you go with solar with some kind of backup. You get a low cost of energy for the life of your lease or the building that you have. JMMB will do appropriate risk management by providing you a loan that reduces one of your biggest costs. Let's be honest, it does mean that they can provide you with other things that are just as important, increased share of wallet. And then from the solar company's perspective, we arrange the project financing, we design and supply all material and equipment, we handle installation and commissioning, and we provide ongoing monitoring and O&M. So at this point, I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna allow Neil to jump in and give you the particulars on the loan, which
Hi, Neil. You can go ahead and start your presentation.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining. And that was a very informative presentation, Sean, I must say. You know, I really learned a lot.
While Neil is bringing up his presentation, if you don't mind, there's one quick question, well, there are two quick questions for Mr. Hinds. I would like to know how long does it take to do an installation and if there is an inspection cost.
nope, we don't charge. Sorry, we don't charge for assessments. Installation time, we usually generally ask for 3 to 7 days. It's usually 3 days installation. However, getting to installation is taking a lot longer because we just have a lot of work to do. Yeah, usually installation will take around 3 days.
Okay, all right, thank you. Niels, you're ready, you can go ahead.
Yeah, man. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
All right, great. So on pretty much I believe that everyone is aligned with. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes, and as I was saying, so pretty much everyone present is aligned with, you know, one common goal, and that is to, you know, conserve on energy. I know in particular, SMEs, you know, SMEs are pretty keen on cost containment and, you know, the bottom line, net profits and all of that. And what I can say is that, you know, in this particular period of time, you know that we are kind of recovering from COVID, you know, and the war, the current war, ongoing war that's happening, you know, and its impact on fuel prices and, you know, consumer goods and stuff like that. You know, whatever we can do to conserve on energy or to save some money, you know, that's something that I know that we all would enforce. With that said, I'm just going to jump into my presentation, which is pretty much highlighting what JMMB has on offer. I'm not sure what's happening to the screen. All right, so.
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm gonna ask if you don't mind to just stop sharing and share again.
Okay. Does it think I keep seeing a name there? Luca. I don't know.
Let me just see what's happening.
All right, let me try again. All right, you see my screen, right?
Yes, we are.
All right, great. So, all right, so one of the myths, and Sean would have alluded to that, you know, is that typically it was viewed that, you know, the cost for energy efficient solutions was pretty high, and, you know, it was more widely viewed that, you know, it was like the government entities and the larger corporations that would have the financial power to access these sort of solutions. But that is no longer the case, you know, and as a matter of fact, the installation costs, as Sean also alluded to, is declining, so now would be an ideal time to access these sort of solutions to the benefit of your business, to ensure that at the end of the day, you're containing your energy costs, and you can redirect, those funds into things that would make your business more efficient. And I've kind of created what you would say, I kind of created a table around, the importance of energy efficiency to businesses, and these points pretty much, they came on, for me, they kind of fell under 3 subheadings. And the first is from an economic standpoint, improving one's business through energy efficiency can save money. That's the bottom line. You can save money. And what we've noticed that in the past, many businesses have viewed energy as an uncontrollable cost, given the high and unstable fuel prices. And we know, of course, the negative impact that this can have on one's financial performance. The other category that I had was risk management. And energy efficiency can be used to hedge against the uncertainties surrounding fuel prices. The current war, it's pretty volatile. So fuel prices, are pretty much unstable. And also, given the resources that would generate energy, it's not infinite, unlike the sun that we would say are the other natural resources. Like fossil fuel is not infinite, and the reserves are pretty much going down. So if you can, seek out other alternative sources of energy, you can mitigate against, the risk of rising fuel prices. And the third one that I had was, it would enable you to have a competitive edge over your competitors. If you are able to utilize less energy, you can optimize your efficiency and redirect, those resources into things that would make you more efficient in terms of your service delivery and even your prices, And the takeaway from this is that in today's overly competitive commercial environment, even a seemingly marginal operational advantage over your competitor can deliver substantial gains in sales and overall service delivery. And with that said, I just want to introduce, what JMMB has on offer for SMEs. And that is known as our JMMB Bank Renewable Energy Loan. Now, this particular product is geared towards SMEs, to pretty much enforce or ensure energy efficiency. And there is no real cap on, as a matter of fact, there's no cap on the amount that you can access. As I know that Sean would have outlined that table in terms of what you can do, the different energy solution options that you can source to, to save energy. So this particular product would be aligned to that, and you can access this facility to save on energy. The maximum financing that we offer is up to 90% of the total energy cost or energy audit that Sean's company would provide. And we finance this for a maximum 10 years, anywhere between 7 to 10 years. We would finance these loans for 7 to 10 years. And the processing fees are 2% plus GCT on the loan amount that you would have accessed. No, I intentionally never included the interest rate because given what's happening, in the market, in the current marketplace, the interest rates and stuff like that, interest rates are going up. However, JMMB, you can negotiate with us. And what I can say is that we have a base rate of 10%. We have a base rate of 10% that would be applicable to this energy loan. And what I've done as well was to outline what the requirements are for this particular loan for SMEs. And it's not a lot. I mean, these particular details, I imagine that once you're a structured entity, you would have these in your possession. And these include your last 2 years financial statements. They don't have to be audited. Copies of your business registration documents, copies of the bank statements and the companies or businesses operating account or accounts in line with the financial year end, detailed cash flow projections and assumptions, and copies of your KYC documents to include your ID and TRN for the business owners, a valid TCC, a valid letter of good standing. The letter of good standing would only be applicable to companies, hence the asterisk there. And of course, we would have to generate credit reports on the business owner and the entity to determine credit worthiness. And we would require as well a copy of the energy installation quotation and energy audit, because we would want to have an idea as to what the total project cost would look like, and in terms of what sort of savings I imagine that you would want to be aware of. So I created a scenario, a financing scenario, and I recall that Sean had I think that was at the lower end. That installation cost, it was between 2.5 to 3.5, and for a loan for $2.5 million at 10% for 7 years, you're looking at approximately $41,000. Now, I imagine that this is not, in the grand scheme of things, this wouldn't be so significant when you compare it to how much you'll be saving over the period of time, So, Sean, I don't know if you can remind me as to, off the top of your head, if you can recall what the monthly saving was like for an installation, for a installation solution that fell between 2.5 to 3.5 million dollars.
Yeah, man, sure. So you're looking at just around $66,000 a month. So with a loan payment of $41,000, you're going to be scraping $25,000 in pocket.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just under $300,000 a year. For as you said, for 10% down. Yeah, I mean, it's like 30%. It's like a third.
Yeah, man, exactly. So I mean, personally, I think this is a good investment. So.
Sorry, in fact, if you actually look at it from this perspective, you would therefore pay back your deposit and fees in year one.
Yeah, man. Thanks for that, Sean. So personally, like I say, it is a good investment, especially given the instability of the current fuel prices and stuff like that. And I mean, it's pretty much a good investment. So I would implore each and everyone present here, to take advantage of this energy-based solution to benefit your business in the long term.
Okay. So Neil, we have a quick question. Is the loans only available through the partners that's on the files, or can you go to any solar provider?
Oh man, it's not limited. Ideally, we'd want to partner with Sean, but it's open.
Yeah, man, it's open. Actually, I actually alluded to that in my presentation. As I said, I know quite a number of other companies not listed, not listed as either Solobos or ourselves, that have actually benefited from this product. It's actually a fantastic product for the industry because it actually is allowing the entire industry to grow. And I think that's very important.
Mhm. Yeah, man. So what I want everyone present to take away from this presentation is that the initial outlay associated with installing, energy-based solutions can be, a significant investment upfront. But in the long term, you'll be able to monitor and reduce your energy consumption over time, which is, which would transcend into more money back into your pocket that you can actually reinvest, redirect, into other areas of your business to ensure overall efficiency. And also, I mean, that investment, you don't have to fund everything out of pocket, can be difficult. So what you can do is to come to JMMB, access an energy-based loan, that would afford you with comfortable monthly payments, and you can repay that over time. So that's it from me. I don't know if you have any more questions that you want to share. That's my contact information right there. Feel free to reach out to me and I'll provide the service as best as possible. All right. That's it, Tanis.
Okay, thank you so much. If you have any questions for either Neil or Sean, sorry, you can let us know very quickly. We have a few more minutes before we finish, so just to address any questions you have while they're here.
Sure. Sorry, I see that someone is asking you about the insurance component, Tanisha.
Yes, Heather is in the chat. I'm actually reaching out to her. But just give me a few minutes until she responds. Our insurance representative is Heather, and she will be able to give us some more information. But you would be able to use the solar system as we would be able to insure your solar system. Heather, are you able to respond quickly?
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. So the insurance component on a system that's running for $2.5 million is just about $70,000 per annum. I'm not sure if you're hearing me.
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay. Right. So that's the annual premium for it.
Okay. Does that answer? A second, I'm seeing another question. Right, so is the insurance a required part of the loan?
Yes.
Yes, that's standard.
That's correct.
And any other questions? I think this is for Sean. Is there maintenance costs over the period of the loan?
No, so we actually do one annual maintenance for free for all customers. If you want more than that, then we have a maintenance program where we can do quarterly. But as I said, I generally find that annually should be fine. We respond to emergencies immediately, but I think one free maintenance as of now, we're still fine with that. I think
Okay.
if we get to a larger number, we'll change. But no, for now, it's one free every year. Do you need to replace parts? Not usually, but it does happen because they have fuses and breakers, and those can those can go bad. But the warranty, our workmanship warranty is for 5 years, and so any of those parts that go bad within the first 5 years we'll replace.
Okay. Well, this question was sent directly to me. It's asking if what about collateral? I'm assuming that's for the loan, but Niels, you can just confirm we're using the solar panels as the collateral, right?
Yes, that's correct. But what I can say as well, Tanis, is that if at any point you have, you know, other more tangible collateral, let's say property, you know, what that can enable is for possibly 100% financing.
Okay.
In my presentation, I had up to 90%. But if you had other tangible, you know, asset like to pledge, like property, you know, you can possibly get 100% financing once there's sufficient equity in that asset.
No problem. So you can give us an additional asset to fill the 10%.
Correct.
Solar would not cover.
Correct.
Any other questions before we go, whether for the insurance, for the loan, or about the solar system? Making sure I haven't missed anything. Remember, you can also use the raise hand button and to ask your questions if you have any. No? So it seems like there are no more questions. Wait, is this okay? What is the interest rate? I believe Niels, you said 10%.
Yes, Tani. So we start at a base at 10%. Like I say, you know, JMMB, the possibility exists that it may go up. It's contingent, of course, on, you know, your credit worthiness and those sort of things. But the base is 10.
Okay. And as do you want to just go through the requirements quickly again? I know you had it up, but just a quick refresher before we go, so that
Sure,
they
sure.
know exactly what to. Okay.
All right, sure. So what would be required is pretty much the last 2 years financial statements, copy of your KYC documents, which will include your ID, TRN, those sort of things, copies of the business registration documents. We have to generate credit reports on the owner of the business and the business itself. An energy quotation and audit would be required. Copies of the bank statements for the business and its operating account or accounts in line with the financial year end.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can go to Sean or another solar provider, get your quotation, then come to JMMB, provide us with your business information, which would be your financial statements, your bank statements, have us do your credit report for you, and then we'll be able to give you an assessment of what we can assist you with in terms of a loan. I noticed that Christopher has his hand up. Christopher, you can go ahead and answer your question.
Yes, I was the one who asked the question about the maintenance. And I was just wondering if the system uses batteries and if those batteries will last the life of the loan, which we say is about 10 years.
Yeah, man. So I should just tell you that the reason JMMB doesn't go longer than 10 years for this equipment only product is because that's the extent of the warranty. Just what is the extent of the warranty for the shortest living piece of equipment, which is, you know, like a battery or an inverter, and that's usually 10 years. So I do know that when they were looking at the product from at the start, it was, if they're going to be using the equipment as collateral, then the loan could not go past a period of time that we couldn't outlive the warranty on the equipment. And so yes, so lithium-ion batteries warranted for 10 years, and so that's the warranty. That's the time that the battery will last.
Okay, thank you. And one more question for Sean. Can we have our solar system installed on zinc roof?
Yeah, man. So they, as long as the zinc roof has purlins rafters beneath it beams, whether it's wood or steel, it's just fine. And of course, the one other thing to keep in mind would be the distance between those beams. But again, once the Jamaican standard is usually 25 inches off center. So I would say it's just fine.
Okay. Right. Any last questions? We have about 8 minutes left for extensively. No questions? Right. So I'm gonna have just you. I don't know if there's one last important point that you want to share before we leave. Anything you'd like to from? No. I think Christopher has another question, or that's the
Yes, this was already said in the meeting, but I didn't get it. I didn't get the telephone number for, is it Neil, right?
so,
I know it was said it was displayed, but I didn't see it.
number is 499-2859.
499?
2859.
I didn't get that.
499-2859.
I got the two.
One moment.
Yes, your sound has gone. I'm not hearing what you're saying. I got the 499 and then the two for the.
Hello?
Thank you. I saw it in the chat. Thank you very much.
And of course, I'm going to also put the email in the chat. If you want, you can also send us an email and back to you. I am also seeing Sheldon, you have a question?
Can we use any business banker from JMMB?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
If you already have a relationship with a business banker, that's fine. You can go ahead and reach out to him. Not, you can either send us an email at JMMB, it's at the SME Resource Center at JMMB, or you can reach out.
So she said that you can reach out to SME Resource Center at jmmb.com, or you can, right, yes, at JMMB, or you can reach out to your existing relationship manager.
Any last question? Right, so I think that is it for us tonight. Of course, if you are not an existing JMMB SME Resource Center client and you'd like to join the SME family, please also send us an email. We will definitely assist you to come on board. Or if you are in need of any assistance from any of the solutions that we offer, whether it is with financing or investments or insurance, also please send us an email. We'll definitely be happy to assist you. So thanks everyone for coming. Please enjoy your night. And we look forward to seeing you at our next workshop. As I said at the beginning, we have these workshops every 2 weeks. So look out for our invitations either via email or via our social media platform. Have a good night.
Smart Business Account for SMEs. Being a business owner is a role that changes constantly. At JMMB Bank, we offer a new type of partnership. We understand and care about the unique needs that come with operating